the thing about the ashram being a sacred place is that nothing really is usual. Like the usual is unusual, and it's a very unusual place, and so that confuses people. But they came because it was a sacred place and because they were searching for the divine. So in some way, if it was a normal, everyday place, you might not come. Like you're coming for a specific reason. So it's sort of like an initiation into a whole group of teachings. And that means that there's responsibility attached to it. It also means that there's like a mystery of another level that you haven't, that you've started something, that's all. And so it's not fully understood. But then there's all these different stages and phases in your life that are initiations. So it's that sort of being willing to enter the unknown and not stay in the known. Because if you do, like you're stuck and you're stable, and that's great if that's where you want to be. But you have to have movement, and you have to have ups and downs, and you have to have forward movement, and it has to be that willingness to enter in. So here is like a practice time. It's your initiation into it. And the responsibility is like, what do you do with what you've been given? And how do you give back to life? And so you have to have that willingness there to keep entering in to what you've gotten glimpses of. And everyone has had their glimpse at a different time. And some have had more than one glimpse. But even if that one glimpse is there, then there's no denying it. It's like Swami Radhananda said, once you know how to read, like you can't pretend you don't read anymore. I mean, it's there. It's part of you. And so the same with this searching for the divine and finding the glimpses. And that's another part of the spiritual life is people, because it really is very usual, even though we call it unusual at the beginning. It's that they have these expectations that spiritual is going to be something that holds an expectation of, like rightness and perfect and peace and all of these things, and that you're going to be able to embody those. But this is an initiation into spiritual life. It's a beginning. And so it's not going to be all there, and it isn't going to be all there at the last initiation in this life. So each part is going to bring with it a challenge, or you'd have a pretty boring life. So it's sort of like what you have and what you've come with and what you are presented with in your life in lessons, they're going to keep coming. It's not going to all settle down and settle out and everybody know everything and be super and never have another emotional fit ever. It just won't happen. Like when you get to another place, it's going to be there. So you're always finding out, like part of the YDC is finding out about your beliefs, those that you really held closely and really believed in until this point, and then you come face to face with it. It may be on the video, it may be in the temple, it may be up the ladder, it may be in the garden, it may be in the kitchen. You come face to face with a belief, and you have to look at it. Somewhere else you might be able to just skirt around it, but no, you've decided to look at your beliefs, your illusions. And so in that way, then you become stronger. But what you've done in the whole YDC is that you've built this structure, a new belief structure of your own. Like, people come here and they project lots of stuff onto us. It's like we're it and we know it, and so, we're spiritual. And what happens is that you're given the tools to build your own path, your own building of new beliefs or new ideas or new ways or your whatever. But it's yours. You do it. But now that you've built it, now that you've got some idea of this structure, and hopefully it's a bamboo structure this time, so that it's very flexible and can be open to other ideas and other ways of thinking and doing things. But you've got a structure now, and you have to live that. Somehow it has to become yours. They can build all these things out of bamboo, and it's very light. It's very flexible. You can take it down, build something else out of the same thing. It's not a brick wall like some of you have had to work through. This time you're building something that's much more flexible and open. But it'll only become yours when you've lived it. That's the whole thing behind spiritual life. It's like it can't be just transmitted. Or all of us could be, there, happy. And it would be fine. But you have to live it. You have to live it through your work and your relationships and your own inner dreams and your goals and everything. It's not something that just comes prepackaged. And I think that's the way we wanted the YDC to be, so that every step you're taking control of your process. It's yours. You get the workshop, you do the work, you put the effort in, you get the results. And that's what we said at the beginning of the YDC. It's entirely up to you. Because we can't force anybody to do that. You can't say that this is the right way or the wrong way, or this is the way you should be. It's not. That's not the idea. It's that you become really full. It's like a tree that comes to flower and then to fruit, and inside the fruit is the seeds or something else. That's your process. And when the seed gets planted again, it's another plant, another flower. But the flower can fall off before the fruit is ripe. The fruit can fall off before the fruit is ripe. The seeds can land somewhere where it's not a good place for them to grow. So you have to watch what you've been given. You have to take it seriously, because the emotions and the illusions that you've carried up to this point can come in a wave. And the habits that you've lived with for the last so many years are right there. It's a battlefield. And hopefully your higher self's in the driver's seat, Krishna or Divine Mother or whoever. But also it's very difficult if there's not cooperation with that. If you don't choose to cooperate with your higher self, if you don't choose the messages, watching your dreams, writing your reflections, thinking deeply, and developing that devotion. It's one of the things that Swami Radha wanted to happen during the YDC, was that people would develop their intuition and a feeling of devotion. Because it's things that you don't learn anywhere else. And so it's very important that you bring forward what you've learned and live it in your life. Because the opportunity to be in a sacred space isn't that available. So make the best use of the time that you're given. Because there'll be tricks that your mind plays that the ego will want to have some kind of confirmation that you've done something, that you've had an experience, or it'll start demanding things from you if you don't keep track of, this is what I've learned, this is what I know, and keep going back to your own reflections and your own dreams. So it's just to be aware that we all have that other strong part that won't let go of the reins, and to really have a firm hold, to really be here. So you get a potential of the glimpses here of who you are, but to really find out. And to make sure that you're pleasing the divine and not yourself. Because most of us spend most of our life getting what we want. And so to turn that around requires a lot of effort. But then you get the pearl. So everyone's here by divine appointment. Om Namah Shivaya.